Welcome, friends and family. Super excited to be here again with you today with this Motivate with Elevate with my good friend KC Cope. And today, KC, tell them about the chapter we're going over, brother.
Well, first of all, happy 2025. This is our first one
Yep.
of 2025 being
Yep.
together
Yep.
doing this. So I hope y'all had an excellent new year, a safe new year on this snowy Monday that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And
Snowing out there this morning.
yeah, so we're in this chapter that I get a lot of practice at. And this chapter says, if you're wrong, just admit it and go on. And I get a lot of practice with that because I'm wrong quite often.
There you go.
So it's an interesting chapter. In this book, he talks about a story where he was in a dog park, or well, I guess just a park, a normal park, not necessarily a dog park, and had his dog out running without a leash or anything on, and that was against the rules of the park. But his dog didn't really like those things, so he just let him run. And the dog was very gentle natured, so he wasn't overly concerned about him running loose. But they ran into a park officer that kind of gave him up the road about it, bit his head off, said, "Don't you
Yep.
know that you're putting other people in danger, and you need to put a leash on that dog, you need to put a muzzle on that dog, and all that other stuff." And really kind of asserted his authority over the gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about how that made him feel, and he wanted to kind of retaliate, but it's also police force, so what are you gonna do? So still, next time he goes out, takes his dog, he puts him on a leash, puts a muzzle on him. Per the request of the officer he ran into, and he does that for a little while, but eventually, the dog doesn't like it. The time's not as enjoyable as it was, so he decides, you know what, I'm just going to take the dog back out there. I'm going to take the leash off. I'm going to take the muzzle off, and we'll just
Let him run.
we'll just let him run, and we'll
Yeah.
just take our chances. And lo and behold, run into the same police officer that got him the first time. But this time the approach, instead of coming up and trying to justify why the dog was nice and he's not going to hurt anybody, it was, uh, "Officer, I'm sorry I messed up. You told me not to come back here without a muzzle on the dog or a leash on the dog, and and you clearly told me, and here I am. I'm clearly doing exactly what you told me not to do, and you caught me red-handed. Issue a citation or whatever you feel is just in the situation." And the cop just looked at him and said, "Well, no, you're fine. That dog doesn't look like he'd hurt anything.
Mm-hmm.
Go about your day. See you later."
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the attitude of how much better things are that, when you've done something wrong, you've messed up, just say, "Hey, brother, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Yep.
I messed this up. Here's what I'm going to do, try to fix it, or what do you think I need to do to fix it, or something like that." And approach it with that attitude, and how much better that's going to make that relationship.
It's a really good story, KC. That's a really good story. And I know too, they talked just a little bit behind it about the psychology of it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like the psychology of that guy wanted to feel important. He's a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
He liked the idea of kind of being important and having the authority. So in the
Mm-hmm.
first time, uh, when he just kind of got caught, he was pretty tough on him. But that second time when Mr. Carnegie kind of went up and said, "Man, it's my fault. I shouldn't have done it. You told me not to. I'm just a horrible." No, no, it's a cute little doggy. But you told me about putting the muzzle on him. He could hurt somebody out here. Oh, no, no, no. He's fine. Why don't you just take him over there and let him run? But the psychology behind that is everybody wants to feel important.
Right.
And he was able to feel important by Carnegie taking the low road, making it where he could have the high
Right.
road.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so Carnegie said he really had no other choice but to behave
Mm-hmm.
that way.
Right.
And it's funny, Casey, I read this with Noah, and afterwards, Noah pulled a Carnegie. He had gotten a lower grade in his basketball team. When you get below a certain level, I think anyhow, once you get a certain level low, you're not allowed to play on the
Right.
basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent an email to his coach, "Hey, I messed up. It's my fault. I completely understand if you won't let me play this week with my grades." And he said the guy within just a second back said, "No, it's fine. Thumbs up. Let him by."
Yep.
He was like, "Wow, I never expected that." But I said, "Noah, you Carnegie'd him. You took that approach of setting yourself lower and owning your mistake, and so it made him feel good about himself to give you the opportunity."
Yep.
It's amazing how these principles work, man.
It's just it's natural in a lot of ways, and again, there's always the exception. There's always the people out there that are still they're so egotistical. They're so puffed up and proud of themselves, and
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
that even these concepts are still going to you know uh, present themselves in a way to kind of be overused. So we know there's exceptions to everything, but for the majority of the people we're going to be around, man, it's amazing at how just to be wrong. And isn't it so much better just to do that? I mean, think of how much goes into trying to cover something up, or how much goes into
Pride.
um, how much worse things are. And there's an analogy that we've seen several times, but if something's heavy and you got a hold of that rope and something's really heavy and you got it wrapped around your hand, and how much it cuts into your hand, and it gets so heavy that it cuts circulation off, or it breaks the skin and you start to bleed. How much better would it be if you just let it go,
Ooh.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much less painful if you
Pain.
just let it go,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's the admitting it. How much more pain are you going to cause yourself by just, I didn't do that, so and so did that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my job. That's so and so's job. That's why didn't they do it? Well, you need to go talk to them. You know, and there may be some truth in that in the situations, whatever else. But at the end of the day, uh, if
That's
you
good.
if you know you've done it or you had a part in it,
Yeah.
own it,
Yeah.
fix it.
That's really good. I hate to even carry on after that because I know what you just did right there will be a great short YouTube video. That'll make it short, no doubt about it. Because you give a great visual, man, and that's so true. I know a little while back, probably less than a month ago, me and you were in the computer lab in the office, and somebody came to me with some bad news of something that had took place over the weekend, and it was really bad. I mean, it was um, very much of a bad mistake that was made by this person. But they owned it, and they came over there and just said, "Man, I really messed up. This is what happened." And I'm thinking you've probably seen my face turn red because right off the bat I wanted to get upset
Hmm.
because it was a big client, big deal. And and but I couldn't get mad. And I remember me and you afterwards, you're saying you were being kind to me. You said, "I think you handled that really well. You had every right to get upset." I said, "But Casey, I just couldn't get upset because they owned it. They
Hmm.
admitted it right off the bat. There was no defense. They didn't try
Yeah.
to make an excuse." So when you come with that empty hand, not holding on to it or trying to defend yourself, but with that empty hand of like, man, here I messed up, and here's what happened. It's all my fault. It's just so hard, even if and that to me was a really big deal. But
Yeah.
even if it's a really big deal, I just can't get mad
Yeah. It's
at that person. I can get mad at the situation there, but I can't get mad at that person at that point.
yeah. Well, again, it's all about what are they doing to try to bring a solution
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
the issue at hand.
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing? And sometimes you may be working. It may be somebody that maybe doesn't maybe have the capacity to come up with the solution, but at least they're saying, "Hey, just tell me. Like, let me
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
How can I? Let me know."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But man,
So that attitude goes a long way. And I think of like duels of some kind. I don't know why my mind goes there, but I'm thinking, if if somebody knocks on my door, and I open the door and they're standing there. Well, we had a story this morning. They're standing there with Girl Scout cookies. My guard's not there, right? They're
mm-hmm.
they're they're standing there. There's no threat,
Yes.
right? And, they might
Yeah.
take some money and make me get off my weight loss plan, but other than that, there's not a threat there.
Yes.
But if there's a knock at my door and I look out the window and look and there's somebody standing there with a baseball bat or something like that, my guard goes up. And I think when you're saying that, somebody coming to you with excuses is like coming to the door with a baseball bat. I've got a defense. I'm
Yeah.
ready. I'm ready to
Yep.
to make an attack if I need to make an attack because I'm going to defend myself at
Hmm.
your door. And
Mm-hmm.
then now
Hmm.
everybody's guards up and it
Mm-hmm.
causes that conflict, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you know you've made the mistake and you come to that door with the Girl Scout cookies of how can I make this better, and I'm sorry I messed this up.
So hard. Yeah, to be angry at that person.
Right. Hmm.
Again, just basic 101 common sense that isn't applied commonly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I went to in high school I had a great friend, and I would say a mentor of my younger days as a teacher down there, and he always would say that common sense isn't common to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
be careful who you're around a lot of times, especially. But I find myself finding that more and more true and saying it on a regular basis. Common sense is not common to everybody, and you got to take that into account when you're working through. But that again is where, like I've heard you say several times, the people who hang around, the books you read,
Mm-hmm.
make you better.
Yes. And guys, with that, I would say this is a great book to read. If you've not read it in your 2025, I'd make it a goal to read through How to Win Friends and Influence People. I don't believe it can ever do you any harm. And if anything, I believe it can help with one of the most important things in life, and that's relationships and friendships and how to build those in a correct and healthy way. I do believe more marriages would stay on par. I do believe more relationships would stay on par when we learned how to treat people like we want to be treated. And it just basically goes back to the golden rule, just applying it out in everyday life. So, Casey and I appreciate y'all being in. Stay tuned in. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.